And I don't even have my show notes up. Hang on a minute. And this is Shiny Side Out. We are Shiny Side Out. That's better. Hang on a minute. There we go. Broadcasting from Australia for Revolution Radio on, this is the website, write it down, revolution.radio. That is the home of fresh ideas. Buy some merchandise or donate if you like anything we say. Donate to the station, donate to us. Buy some merch. It's really helping support the station. And it obviously helps support Meki and I. But with the very few that we do receive, it doesn't even pay for the site, to be honest with you. But that's right. Join us in the chat room where I am right now. And you can talk to us while we're on air. This is show number 674.
470 and 600.
You know, you can tune into us online on your smart device directly via an app, or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. That's as Australian as I can ever get a sound. If you missed Solaris' show, you did miss out on a great show because she had Rick Osman. I'm sure not a relative of the Osmonds, because it has a D at the end. Is the author of the Graves of the Golden Bear, the book that examines many old world peoples who came to America. It's fantastic. I loved the show. Well done, Solaris. And because you don't know who we're talking about when we say Solaris, jump into the archives. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Where can that happen these days? Nowhere. It doesn't happen. Free. Really free. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything at all. You got to log in, and for 1 second you've got to remember the username and password, which is displayed to you, and that's just to stop all the scraping from, which is a shame, to be honest, Meki. If the archives didn't have it used to be called a paywall, but just a username and password to access it, the Wayback Machine would have had our archives in it.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it would have had if it didn't have that wall. But anyway, yeah, look, a call goes out. We've lost a bunch of shows either through YouTube deleting them, or an altercation between Nighthawk and YouTube in the early days, where you could really post whatever all the shows. We had a marvelous archive up there, and then it was all gone before he knew it was all deleted, and the site was deleted, or the channel, and we ended up with nothing. That's when he created his own archives. So if you've got anything that is missing from us, please let us know. That'd be fantastic. Some people used to buy a CD or an MP3, or if they've downloaded them or what have you, of all their favourite hosts. You could do that. You could order it. If anyone did that, please let us know. That'd be fantastic. Or if you've got the archive, if you've got a copy of the archives and you work at the station, just let us know. Anyway, I'm broadcasting out of Dark and Joan country. Meki, where are you?
I'm in the Rock country.
Now, Meki and I know that he's at home, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. All right. Now, and look, if you don't know, we are now broadcasting to Rumble, as well as live on air. But we've got a copy of an archive on Rumble, which we're commencing, we're beginning it, and we've got YouTube, but we keep getting stuff deleted off them, they just hate on us. And I'm also putting our Shiny Side Out, at least, onto Spotify. So if you've got a Spotify account, then you can listen to us ad-free there, and I think you can comment. I think you can do whatever you want. Have a listen and then message us. You can go to shinysideout.net.au, I think, which is our website, Shiny Side Out, and you can find our contact details there. And if you want to be on the show, you can simply just reach out to us. Otherwise, do that under a comment in YouTube or Rumble, and we'll see the request come through that way. Oh boy, Mackie, the blistering speed at which change is now occurring. I would liken it to the quickening if I didn't know better. But it's the new way that politics is working. Let's see if it comes to pass here in Australia. Because I asked that, or I say that anyway, because I'm flooded with news from both left and right, and I've got a bunch here that I've kind of got saved. I don't want this rant to be a long rant. Something that was really good, I think, that Trump has put in, is says no tax on tips. That's pretty good. That hopefully that gets through and is approved, or whatever. But the USAID or USAID is the main story right now. So I'm just putting some headlines up, and I'm not going to bother reading the story, but CNBC says USAID security leaders removed after refusing Elon Musk's Doge employees access to secure systems. That's all their whole article is about, whether or not people should have had access to it. USAID itself has distributed a lot of money over time, and this story is now bounced and I can't get to see where I was. Shame. And that its budget last year was 2023 was 43.4 billion. That's really the story that MSNBC has. It says these are the top US aid recipients, from religious groups to major US companies, as Trump targets agency. And then there's a list of them. Hang on, it took me a while to get to them. Oh, I can't. No, it's gone now. You only get a certain amount of time on that page. But it didn't show any of the ones that are call-outs, I suspect. I've got a map here. This map is showing all of the US foreign aid by country. This is how the funding is dispersed, they call it. Disbursements. Ukraine, 16.2 billion. That's a lot of money. And the argument is to keep US interests alive and well there, probably to support a democracy to some extent, and that was the original thing. But how much of that got through? There's claims that not all of that money got through. The next one, I'll let Mackie comment as we go if he feels that way inclined. Here's another thing. This is Newsweek. It's just USAID's programs are authorized by Congress in the Foreign Assistance Act. Apparently, not all of them, but that's okay. This is the rhetoric that I'm hearing, and there's only one or two news sources that are openly demonstrating what is infuriating or providing ammunition to continue searching into it. Right? Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. But that's Fox News, and Fox News are running headlines talking about the judge blocking. Judge blocks Trump from placing 2,200 US aid workers on leave.
Yeah, it was a union action. I think we should say here, this has nothing to do with the actual aid that's being dispensed. Mm-hmm. This is about not being able to stand these 2,000, whatever it is, these workers down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this is not about, how can I put this best? So the stop has been put on the US aid payments. Let's be clear. Mm-hmm. Like all the projects, they've stopped. The projects have stopped in all the countries in the world. They're no longer doing any work, like providing medical care, whatever they did. Mm-hmm. But that's not what this is about. The stoppage is about from standing down those workers.
Yeah.
So to be clear, USAID is no longer in the business of not
dispersing funds.
Not to pardon the double Dutch, providing aid, but rather. So all the U.S. aid work is actually stopped. The injunction that we've seen now, the stoppage to the executive order, is around standing down the government workers, not reinstating the budget to those programs.
That's right.
That's important. After you finished, I've got a few numbers we need to compare as well.
Yeah, that's good. All right. So what I'm seeing here is a very similar argument from all of the media outlets, except for the one that's on the screen at the moment, Fox News. Everyone else, including those protesting, are not supporting the payments that USAID. They're not mentioning the payments that USAID were making or dispersing to other countries. They're not talking about the programs or what they mean. They're only talking about the workers and access to secure data. That's the overall view of what their complaint is. And I think that says a lot about the people who are arguing. Look, it's a human thing. I get it. Don't stand them down. Surely, can we reassign them to some other work? Maybe, is one of their arguments. Or this is a travesty, and we need to reinstate them and get USAID up and rolling again. How dare they touch an American institution? And I question whether the people who aren't talking about the payments and where they're going, if this was a thing that was later found out years from now, or months or weeks or days, I don't know how quick this thing is going to move, I hope that no one was inappropriately receiving funds who has made an argument to maintain it. I hope that that's the case. Here's me, I'm in the middle, I'm not left or right, I've got my popcorn watching an amazingly fast government action, probably the world's swiftest action that has ever taken place in the history of politics. Probably not even it could be even in the universe. I've never seen an axe being wielded inside government and policy. I watch Meki. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Yes Minister or Yes Prime Minister, the English TV show, and some of the things that they talked about trying to make change just inevitably said no. You can't make that kind of change. You want to make change, you can, sure, but not any change that old Jim Hacker ever wanted to make, ever. Which supported the Westminster system in its entirety. Everything is, once you've established something, it's either the thin edge of the wedge, where the government will expand upon it, because that was the entire reason for doing this one little thing, and that later down the road they increase the bandwidth or broaden it to cover a lot more. That's fantastic. Can you ever delete a policy? Probably not. It's like people don't delete laws. They're just still there. People don't merge laws together because they're similar. They just keep them separate. And I think when I look at what it all seems to mean between the two sides, yes, I'm going to agree with the main headline that says that, Doge is trying to find efficiency and looking for unnecessary spending. Clearly they found something. But do you need 2,200 people when 300 would do the job? I don't know. Is it just an employment agency who couldn't find work for anyone and who is just employing all the people that were looking for work? If you've ever had, and I'm not being awful, but if you've ever had, because it's going to sound awful, but if you ever had to deal with government, it's slow, it's lumbering, changes almost impossible. Even local government, state government, it doesn't matter, federal. they have policies and procedures and processes that must be undertaken in a certain order, and they can't examine something. If you're doing an application to build a house, you can't do it all in one visit. It's got to be a number of visits, a number of in-trays. Oh, but that person can't talk about that because that's not their job. It's the other person sitting next to them. Yeah, but can't we get them both on the phone? Oh, no, that's not how it works. So if there's a way to make governments more efficient, I'm all for it. I am. I support it. I really do. Direct democracy is probably a long way away, but that could deal with all of the unnecessary spend. Thinking about if you're a government and you need to spend, let's just call it $1 billion. So Meckie and I imagine we run the government, and the country is you. And we say we're going to provide and just list a bunch of services, and we've done the math and it works pretty well. It's going to cost $1 billion a year. What happens next year? Everything goes up. CPI costs more. The delivery of services is going to cost more, so we have to tax you more because we don't make any income from it, right? It's not a profitable business, but you pay for it, so taxpayers pay more for the same service. Election year comes up, I'm going to promise them something for people. I'm going to say they're going to get a tax deduction. Well, where are we going to get the money to pay for the services we already need more money for? Argues Meckie. I'm paraphrasing for you. So it becomes an ever-shrinking circle of money and an ever more increasing cost to running the company or running the business. And it isn't solvable unless you have to find efficiencies. That's the only way to do it. Or you just sack everybody, Meckie.
So I got a lot to unpack here.
The microphone is yours.
We need to understand realities, unfortunately. And I think there's a lot of waste in any bureaucracy. I think it's just endemic to the system. It's just how it is. It's the way it's designed. And the longer a bureaucracy is in place, the more waste there will be. I think that's a truism. And that goes back hundreds of years since we've had some kind of organized government. Apart from the waste due to inefficiencies, you have corruption, which is worse, and then you have fraud, which is probably the penultimate sin in this kind of scenario, because it's taxpayers' money, right? And that happened a lot. But you have to understand something here. This is really critically important. We have to look at relative sizes of things. And before I do that, why is there such a thing as a U.S. aid, for foreign aid kind of department? Why? What's the point, right? And we have to go back to the Cold War for that. The easiest way to get people on your side is by providing them with aid. And if you look at World War II and what the U.S. did just afterwards with the Marshall Plan, rather than further punishing Germany and Japan just as that happened after World War I, which led to a massive economic crisis globally and all kinds of bad things, the Americans said, "Nah, we're not going to do that." The Marshall Plan was put into place, and it cost billions of the currency then, to create two markets for American goods and services.
It was established in 1948, right?
In Japan. The Marshall Plan, yeah, that's right. The Marshall Plan brought about the economic miracle for Germany, or it was called it's Wirtschaftswunder, and Japan, similarly, it was the American initial investment that allowed Japan to grow to the economic powerhouse that it is today. Or probably peaking in the 80s and 90s, I want to say, right? Now, why? Why do that? Well, in order to provide a counter to the USSR. That was the thinking. Like, we will help nation states, which will also give us then influence. Something similar is happening today, where Australia
in the Pacific
is paying for a football league team, if you will, in Pacific nations.
Fiji,
right?
Yes.
And it's to bind those nations closer to us, and that's exactly what America did and has been doing for decades.
Rather than, if I say what the opposite effect would be, if we're not doing it, someone else will do it. And this
that's-
foreign influence is scary to our country and
Well,
yours.
It is, and that's really the point here. So to do what has been done is actually not in America's geopolitical interest, because China is following the same kind of policies that America is following when it comes to trying to pull people into their camp. Nation states, through foreign aid and other mechanisms. Again, I urge you to read Confessions of an Economic Hitman. The latest edition also has an analysis of what China is doing with the Bridge and Road Project. But if the aid were withdrawn or stopped, as it is now, and we need to understand, before I go on that, is what that actually means in real numbers. So the federal budget in 2023, financial year 23, was $4.5 trillion. 4.5 trillion. Okay. USA spent about 40 billion.
Mm-hmm. I know it's nowhere
Which
near
is-
the numbers.
it's
And
a rounding
America
error.
has a $2 trillion deficit every
So,
year, which is
yeah.
increasing.
So the U.S. military budget for the same time.
Mhm.
So remember, it was 40 billion for foreign aid. This is the military budget. Was 830 billion.
That's right.
$830 billion. That's a lot of dollars. And the thing is this: you have to ask yourself, well, where is all this money going? And I just want to mention here that the Pentagon wrongly accounted or somehow mishapped $2 trillion September 10, 2001.
That's right. I don't know where
Oh.
it went. We didn't find it in
Two-
receipt stubs.
$2 trillion.
Can't
So
track it.
So 40 billion in the scheme of things is actually nothing. It's like I said, not even a rounding error, because we're talking about trillions of dollars here.
It's
and
just
800.
the first stop of the efficiency bus.
Yeah,
Is foreign aid.
But see, the thing is this, right? If you want to make an impact, right, and this is you have to understand what it is that's happening here, right? The bigger picture, because this makes no difference to America stopping the foreign aid. What it does do is open the doors to China to then come in and provide aid where America is not. So what Donald Trump has done, he has taken away American influence, and make no mistake, this is not a small thing. He's taken American influence away and allowed now, because these people still need help, right? They do. It's just how it is. It's the nature of the world. They now allow China to step in, or whoever. Could be Brazil or India for that matter. It doesn't really matter, right? But not America. And he's every right to do this. Sure, it's his budget. Go ahead. But I mean, you have to understand why this budget is there. It is not to provide any left-leaning or democratic ambitions or ideals. It's to foster influence in the world for America. That's what it is. We want to be there. We want to, and trust me when I say this to you, the CIA and other unnamed lettered organizations using U.S. aid and organizations like this as fronts for their operations. So he has crippled the American ability to operate overseas massively, and he has crippled American influence and both diplomatically and otherwise in other countries. It's a massive crippling, and it's giving China a massive leg up in this space with really no effect. Now, if you really want to start going after government corruption, you want to look at the $800 billion military spend. That's what you want to do.
USAID
$800 billion, right? That's where you, because the thing is this, in business, and I've been in business for a long time, it is a common adage, a common knowledge thing that you go for the low-hanging fruit first. This is not a low-hanging fruit. This is not even a fruit. This is a shriveled little apple, right? That's hanging off some branch way, way out of reach, completely pointless to even look at, right? But you have to ask yourself, so why then? Why? Because it appears that Donald Trump is saving America from spending money overseas. It appears as though he's curbing waste. Let me tell you, and trust me on this, it makes no difference that he has stopped any of this money. None. There's more money lost to corruption and waste and sheer inefficiencies in the military budget than you could ever spend on foreign aid. Okay, that money makes absolutely no difference. You're not going to pay any less tax because he did that. Okay, what we're seeing, and this is really interesting because I don't understand it. What he's doing, he is sacrificing America's leading position in many areas to the perceived enemies. Yes, he got concessions at the border. Yes, there are no more troops. I guarantee you, right now, there's not a single gram of drugs that is going to be stopped by those 10,000 Mexican soldiers. There's not a single person that's going to be stopped from crossing into the U.S. as illegal immigrants. Yes, they will deport them more and more, and they'll send them to, I think it was not Nicaragua, some nation state asked, yeah, we'll take them all, and then, they'll be shipped to Guantanamo Bay, shipped here, there, and everywhere. More and more illegals will pour into America. It's going to happen, okay? Because people are desperate. You can't stop it. And all of these policies will end up costing the Americans dearly, as will the tariffs, which Donald Trump doesn't really understand, or seemingly. So he's putting all these policies in place, which on the face value, and if you don't really understand economics or how the world actually works, makes perfect sense, right? Yeah, we'll do this, we'll do that. The one thing that worried me the most about this, Dave, is Elon Musk's access to private citizens, U.S. citizens' data, confidential data, financial data, etc., right, that he asked for, which he wasn't given either, but he wanted it. Now, Elon Musk is not an elected official. He's a billionaire with his own agenda, right, who's got no real ties to the U.S. I mean, yeah, he's a citizen, but it doesn't really matter. He's got enough money to live anyway. He could live on Mars for all he cares. But he nonetheless has been given free rein. Yeah, do what you need to do, Doge. And he goes after things that are completely inconsequential. Okay, completely inconsequential. And I'm just at a loss as to why if you want to make change, then you should make change where it actually makes sense, where you could save potentially, tens of billions, actually hundreds of billions potentially in military spending. You can save hundreds of billions of dollars, right? Now the argument here is that we need to spend because China's a threat. Well, if China's a threat, then why are you opening the doors for China to countries in which you formerly had an influence? Why is Australia going to pay for a rugby league nation in the Pacific? Makes no sense unless you understand that China is trying to get in there, getting treaties with Fiji and Papua New Guinea and Papua New Guinea as well as Samoa and so forth, right? They're trying to get treaties with them, have military bases, navy bases in the Pacific. That's what China's trying to do. So Australia goes, no. We'll tell you what, we'll pay for your rugby team because they love rugby, and therefore you don't have to allow the Chinese in. Because one of the conditions is that the Chinese influence is curbed. Make no mistake. That's one of the conditions for us paying for their rugby teams, right? And Donald Trump is doing the opposite, which I find. Again, I'm not American. You guys do what you want. It's your money, right? But in 4 or 5 years' time, when the Chinese are closing in on you, right? And you're going, what went wrong? It's this. What went wrong? Okay. You want to save money, but save money where it's worthwhile saving. You can't, this is penny wise but pound foolish, meaning you're looking at little tiny, little specks of dirt, which is, in this context, $40 billion is that, which makes no difference to anything, rather than, tackling the big fraud. I mean, not just the military-industrial complex, but taxes for corporations, right? Proper taxes. Are they being taxed properly? No. What Donald Trump will do is he will get the corporation taxes down, right? And he's cutting all the federal government programs because he wants to cut taxes in general. Now, that's okay if you don't want any government services. If you don't want it, that's fine. Just cut all the taxes, because taxes are meant to pay for the services that you consume as a federal citizen of the United States, right? Now, if you cut all that, if you cut tax, you cut income, and that can be done. That's all good. But the biggest spend by far, of anything. In fact, the biggest spend in the world is the U.S. military budget. Of anyone in the world, the single biggest expense every year is the U.S. military budget. And in order to do that, you have to keep enemies. That's what America has done since World War II. They've always looked for new enemies to be ready against. Right? And most of them were complete nonsense. Okay? But it led to some horrible outcome, which is a massive nuclear stockpile. Right? That's true, that we have that. The Russians have it, Chinese have it, the Americans have it. And none of the policies are designed. They seem to be designed to help America. But you have to unpack it. I know a lot of you don't like hearing it, and that's okay. I don't care. Right? I'm an observer. I'm an analyst on the outside. And make no mistake, right? I have no stake in this at all. I don't like Trump. I don't like any politician. I don't like any billionaire. I think Biden was creepy. Okay, I think he, was probably, if not fully, at least borderline. What I'm talking about.
Something extremely bad. That's right.
Something extremely bad, which gets you killed in prison. So I have no love for any of these people. But you have to look at realities, and everybody's sort of in a trance with Trump. I think Trump is doing the right thing. Now Trump is doing the different thing. He's doing a different thing, which is right. It's different. You haven't seen it before. But you have to look at the consequences for yourselves. I mean, you live in America. A lot of our listenership is in America. I know you're there. I know you're Trump supporters, and good for you. My wife's family, there's like 100 of them. They live in the States, Texas, as well as on the West Coast, up in San Francisco Bay Area, etc. But the older generation, they're all staunch Trump supporters. All of them, pretty much. And the youngest generation, probably more liberal leaning. So there's a generational divide there. But you guys have to live there. You have to live with these things as they're unfolding. Because I haven't seen a single thing that is strengthening your economy at this point. Not one thing, right? I don't see any jobs flooding back. I don't see any massive orders coming in. If the Chinese tariffs are holding, then it's gonna hurt the exports, right? That's a fact. The other thing that's happening, which is really interesting, in my opinion, is that America's turning into Fortress America. Right? We're going to shut all the borders. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Again, that's okay. And he was even threatening the NAFTA partners, the North American Free Trade Agreement, right? Mexico and Canada with sanctions. And like I said, you can do whatever you like on the border. The smuggling of drugs is not going to stop. The smuggling of people is not going to stop. It might slow down a bit. It's not going to stop. Declaring the cartels a terrorist organization, I completely agree. I think that's fantastic. I think that's a good idea. But again, unless he actually sends the military in, what's it going to? What difference does it make? Who cares? Another good thing he has done, in my opinion, is he has, and we discussed this last time, Dave. He has now disallowed, let's say, men from women's sports. I think that's great. Absolutely, that was long overdue. I think that was. See, with this whole woke movement, right? In the world, perceptions and attitudes tend to swing along a pendulum. Mm-hmm. Hardly ever does the pendulum stay in the middle. It usually swings to one side a lot. Let's look at the Victorian age, where homosexuality was illegal. You could actually go to jail for it. In some countries you could be executed for being gay, right? Is that right? No, it's not right. It's wrong, because people have sexual preferences. Let them be. It's if they're consenting adults, let them do whatever they want. Okay, to be clear. And then it swings to the middle, and everybody's happy, and no one cares what your sexuality is. No one cares about any of this stuff. That's where we should be. We should be where no one cares, right? About anything like that, right? As long as we have 2 or more consenting adults.
Everyone participating is consensual.
Well,
that's
yeah,
right.
Whatever. And then now we swung too far, though, to the other side, where now we were pushing sexuality onto our children in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Which that really worried me. And I spoke to a lot of my friends, some religious, some not, and it did worry me. It worried all of us, because, well, first of all, it's way too early for a child to make any conscious decision, and forget hormone treatments even. I mean. And then allowing boys to go to girls' toilets and things like that. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So what you can do is, if you want to do that, if that's your school, I was back then, when it was a thing, I said, okay, you've got a girls' toilet, a boys' toilet, and then an indeterminate toilet. That's for the people that aren't comfortable in either.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't let a biological boy, go into a girls' toilet. Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. If that sounds bigoted, then I'm a bigot. Okay? But that's where I draw the line. Same with men competing in female sports. I don't care how much hormone treatment you've had. Right? The margin.
It's the very reason, and I'm supporting your argument here, it's the very reason that men and women don't play against each other in any sport.
Yeah, I mean, for fun, sure, but not as a serious competition.
We found that the women don't win.
No.
Right? So a whole league for themselves was put together just for that. And look, I know there's certainly examples of people who are very good, but even the Williams sisters admitted openly that they can't hit the ball as hard, that they can't serve as fast, and that they would lose in at least the top 30 male.
Yeah, but you look at the speed with which it's served. Look at the girls. Look at the women's tennis. Look at the men's tennis.
Yeah.
Right. And you're right. The physicalities. At least the Williams sisters, they're very fit. They're Amazons. They're strong women.
And the best, like at the time when she made a statement, she was the world leader in female tennis.
Because it's hormonal. Men and women are biologically different. In case you didn't know. Okay. Testosterone.
The Olympic Games, Mackie, the Olympic Games forever, as soon as we had XY testing, X and Y testing, chromosomal, that you could only compete in what you proved was your born sex. That's it.
Yeah. And look, I'm for it again. If you like to... If you like to argue with that, that's fine. Okay, you can send your children to a school that does these things. You can send your daughters to compete with men. Absolutely, knock yourself out. But testosterone and estrogen and progesterone are hormones that determine how we develop sexually as human beings. Men have more and denser muscle mass. That's a fact. That's a fact. And if training at an equal intensity, let's say, the men will always be stronger. Okay, on average. Yeah, now of course outliers. Don't get me wrong. Naturally, that, right? And sometimes you look at a woman and go, oh, I'm not sure about her. But nonetheless, what's happening in that space, I completely support. The other thing that I found upsetting, I spoke about this before in the Trump administration, since we are talking about it, is the drone message.
Yeah, that really upset me. He was obviously told a public statement, and behind closed doors was told another statement.
You'd think so. And look, again, and it's not that the drones, the drones, I never thought the drones were anything but American.
That's right.
I always thought the drones were probably partially military drones, governmental drones, hobbyists, sure enough. I never thought the drones. What I want to know about is the orbs that the drones were observing, because the orbs were there first. The orbs came, then the drones came, and no one talked about the orbs.
And let's just throw all the drones in the air so we can hide the fact the orbs are there.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm not astounded that the drones. Logically, if you just use an ounce of your brain, if you have aircraft in your airspace that you don't know anything about, okay, especially after 9/11, everything else, what happens? You shoot them down. That's what you do. You shoot them down first. Okay, but that didn't happen. Because the statement was, oh no, they're no danger. How do you know that? You just told me you don't know what they are, but you do know they're not a danger. That was nonsense from the start, okay?
That's right.
No, it's the orbs that I want to know about.
Yeah, we don't know where they came from. They're not a danger. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So President Trump, if you can tell us about the orbs, please do, right?
Yeah.
And so there are a few things here where we expected more disclosure. I'll be honest with you. He wants to release some of the JFK files. That hasn't happened yet, by the way, that I've seen. But I think the the people that believe that JFK was killed by Lee Harvey Oswald is a vanishingly small minority now. Okay? And you don't have to do a lot of deep research into the subject matter. But we did get to talk to Jim Marrs a couple of times, and he researched it. And his book was used by, what's his name? Oliver Stone in the movie JFK, right? Or it was one of the books that was used. The Magic Bullet and all that, right? I don't know how much more information could be revealed. I mean, if the released information reveals that JFK was killed in a plot by the mafia, CIA, and Johnson, nobody would be astounded, and all of the people involved are dead anyway. So who cares, all right? What I want to know about is the stuff that's happening now, today. Release what's happening today. Why did all these alternative energy researchers get killed?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the research? Where I think it's about 4 or 5 missing crates of Tesla's research. Where are they? Where are they? That's what I want to know about. Things that make a difference. Who killed JFK is completely irrelevant at this point. Show us the real perpetrators of 9/11. Show us that. That won't happen. Why? Because he's part of the power structure. I know he doesn't seem like he's part of the power structure, but he is. If he wasn't, he'd be dead now. All
That's right.
Oh, but there were attempts on his life. Really? Were there? Really? In your heart of hearts, do you really think those were legitimate attempts on his life? Nah. I know, again, I might get a lot of hate for that, but I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think it was staged. Okay?
Yeah,
it's great.
You're really getting cynical, and I like that.
No, I'm just being realistic.
Like, where's the beef? I know, right?
Well, yeah, show me the beef.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I will no longer be taken in by anything. I believe nothing of what they say. Nothing. Zero.
Welcome aboard, Mackie. Welcome.
You have to let the actions speak for themselves. And I can see the actions. These are the actions that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the actions are not pro-America. You think they are, everybody, because he's doing this, he's doing that. It's not pro-America. It's not. America is being weakened to the point where in 4 or 5 years' time, the Chinese and Russians are just going to walk across the border. You mark my words. You think it's not going to happen? There's a new superpower on the rise, and it's China. The BRICS nations will become the new economic powerhouse. It's inevitable. What Trump is doing is paving the way for the BRICS nations to take over, to become a new, more or less multipolar world, right? The age of the US dollar is at an end as well. Okay, is America a strong economy, still producing a lot? Yeah, but you take California out of it. You take California out of the United States and a few of the eastern seaboard states, America is just a grain producer, right? Because California has a massive economy, Silicon Valley and other things as well, movies, etc., etc. Massive. If America didn't have California, its economy would not be the biggest economy in the world. Full stop. It wouldn't. Right? What's being manufactured in America? High-end luxury goods. Cars? Not really. Not really. Right? Anything else? I mean, TVs? No. Any electronics? No. None of the stuff is being made in America anymore. It's made somewhere else. If Elon and Donald and President Trump could bring it back, now that would be something, Dave.
I would like to see all of the materials needed for all the things that they have in use in warfare, all of that manufacturing to come back to the US. That would be something else.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Donald Trump cutting the ribbon on new car manufacturing sites in America. I want to see him cut the ribbon.
And chip manufacturing?
Yeah. Any manufacturing.
Any. Yeah, bring it. Yeah.
But not. I mean, when I say manufacturing, I want value-added goods like electronics, etc. That'd be great. I haven't seen a single one, and I don't think it'll ever happen. I don't think it'll happen. Full stop, unless there are going to be massive tax concessions, to the manufacturers in America. So
that's the only way that you could attract them back anyway.
Yeah, well, look, that's exactly right. The thing is this, though, right? Because American standard of living is high. It is. It's high compared to many other countries. So wages are at a certain level. It's just the corporations are looking at America. I'm not going to bring work here. Plus, there are unions. Plus, there are workers' rights. They can strike. They got holidays. Oh, geez.
And the wage comparison to, and I could look, if you waited just a little bit longer for a robot that could replace a human for $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's about the magic price point that I've come to, which would mean that it would be everywhere. It'd be everywhere.
Yeah. Let's say in America, I have to, Dave is right.
No more humans employed anywhere.
Yeah, no more humans. And I said this years ago. I was giving a talk to the sales kickoff, and I said, it's the end of labor. This is the end of human labor. That's what we're seeing right now. Dave was actually listening to that.
I remember that.
And this was pre-COVID. Anyway, but the point is, even if I had human, let's say I've got a human programmer in America, and I have to pay him or her. Let's say I've got to pay him $150,000. Is that reasonable?
Sure.
Something like that. I go to Vietnam, and these are real numbers, by the way, because I have people who work formally working on my team. 10,000 euros a year.
That's right.
Same skill level, maybe better.
It's shiny penny at the end of the year.
So for the one person, I can get 15 people.
I know.
At the same skill level. So if I mean, now does it translate directly? No, of course not. There's a language problem. There's a whole bunch of issues. But if you look at those numbers as a corporation, 150,000 for one guy or 150,000 for 10 guys.
That's all they see on a spreadsheet. That's right.
Bingo. There's no way this will ever change. And Trump himself, being a businessman, same with Elon Musk, right? They are business people. They understand this reality, and they're trying to run America like a business, which is wrong. Because America is not a business. America is a nation state, and the federal government is there to provide services for its citizens.
Yeah.
Do they have too much influence? You could argue yes. I'm a libertarian at heart, so I'm all for small government. So you cut it down, right? All the spending that's not necessary. I'm all for it, again, federally speaking, but it can't be $40 billion. What's $40 billion? What's that going to... That's not even heating New York in the winter. $40 billion. Okay?
It's not even on one building's rent. I know, I get it.
Yeah. So you want to cut where it makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then what you also want to do is you want to encourage more local and small government. And you want to let people, do their own thing. I'm not seeing any of that.
I have seen some of this. They're talking about not running a national education system, the K to 12. So it's not necessary that the federal government does it. It's a state thing anyway. It's always been a state thing. It was a state thing when I was there. And then the federal government decided to put something in place, attempting a standard, and the standard never happened. It always fell apart. And so if this first efficiency bus, and I'm bringing it back to it, if this is the first stop, like I say this all the time. I had my popcorn. I'm willing to watch something happen. Whether it's going to work or not, only time will tell. I know Mecki and I have slightly differing positions on it, but I see Mecki's point 100%. I see it, and I know why you're protecting an American interest by funding. And it sounds preposterous, but I'm sure someone liked it, like the gender affirming, operations in Guatemala, right? I don't care. Does that bring the people from Guatemala, does it bring the country in line with the US? Does it stop other foreign nations from also funding it or doing something else? And if it does anything, then it was worth something. And this is that whole point to the US aid department. But maybe not all the programs, like forcing people, I don't know which country it was, I'm making a joke here, in Iran to watch Sesame Street in their language. Is that important? Does that help US interest? It might. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I think that I was always taught, Meki, that you take care of the pennies and the dollars take care of themselves. I know it's the opposite of what you were saying earlier, but it's not the way that I see what's happening. I think if you could reduce the cost of government eventually in all departments, not just there. I think the CIA is the next stop for the bus. They're already asking people, what do they do? They're doing their efficiency audit. If there's only 3 people working in the CIA, does that help the regular Americans? Does that get the government out of their pocket? There's nothing worse than a government who is in your pocket in your day-to-day life. American Constitution was written to prevent that, but it never seemed to be the case. It grew worse and worse, and I think the current position could be backed, step back a number of steps, a number of paces to make that a more viable remembrance of what it should have been. It may be not the same as what it should have been. You're never going to reduce the NSA's overreach or view of everybody's bank accounts and transactions. We're always moving in the path, looking at the WEF's path of the ultimate, global governance. Everything will be digital. Everyone's transactions will all be seen. Universal basic income will be a thing. Doesn't matter what country you're in. Good luck with that. It's going to happen. Who do you think was at his inauguration? All of the billionaires.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone who's a signatory. So I shouldn't say that. Everyone who's attended the WEF were up on that stage. Members, and he was paid members.
He was invited to, it was not Davos, maybe Davos, but he was at a conference
that's
recently.
Right.
Of course he was.
So
because they're all read in.
And they're billionaires, right? And so there's a larger narrative above what we're seeing, despite Meki and I talking about things and viewing what the public is seeing. I still think there's something above it. And there's no reason why you should be rushing a space program to make people live on Mars when you can live on the moon if there wasn't some huge catastrophe coming. Yeah, but what do I know? I'm not read in. And these are the important points. When you watch the news, be discerning. Don't believe every word and the point of view that's being expressed or the slant. Don't believe it. Watch the alt news. Whoever has an opposing opinion. Even though I can't stand Maddow, I watched about 20 minutes before I had to change the channel. I just couldn't keep watching it. But it's okay. At least I did, and I got a point of view. So, be discerning. Oh, we're almost at the end of the show, Mick. It's 6:54, our regional time here. And it does. It really does. So, look, in Australia, we've got a independent first. What's it called? Australia First? No, Australia One Nation. One Nation. Yes, yes. Saying that they're going to remove 90 billion from the Australian budget to try and get it under control. That's in Australia, 90 billion. That's a pretty good get. I don't think there'll be anyone working in government after that. But if that were possible, I would be surprised. But it's coming from a voice on a person that I don't like. Where's all the charisma in Australian politics, or for that matter, anywhere in the world? All right, look, this is the end of the first hour of David Meki shutting us out. Stay tuned. After the break, we'll be talking about, believe it or not, we'll be talking about the Golden Age Part 2.